The question on everyone's lips right now is, if the PSA Group are getting together on small vans and medium vans, when are they going to get together on large vans? Well, do you know what? That probably doesn't matter too much, because right now we're standing next to a Peugeot Boxer at the professional trim level, which means a lot more comfort in the cabin to go with all of that power under the bonnet. And there's probably a few of you out there scratching your heads and going, isn't that the Citroen Relay that they reviewed at the beginning of all of this? Well, no, it's not. And our Vanarama Road Test is going to show you that this van is in fact a completely different kettle of fish. In a way. Now, before we get started, I just want to say that I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please like it and subscribe to the channel right here, and don't forget to click the bell so you get notified whenever we post content just like this. And if you are in the market for a brand new van or pickup truck, don't forget to head to vanarama.com and check out the deals. Now, let's get started where we always do, at the front. And, well, yeah, it is quite familiar. The Citroen Relay and the Peugeot Boxer do look quite similar, but that is because they platform share. But the major difference is obviously the big Peugeot badge right here, and its name written down here on the top of the grille. And this is also a new grille specifically built for the Boxer. It sits on this three-part front end, which, as we discussed in the Citroen Relay review, is built like this to save you money. How does it do that? If you damage one of the panels, you don't need to take the whole front of the vehicle off. You can just replace the panel right here. And I have to say, I do like the front end of this vehicle. The platform is very tough and durable and allows an easy mounting of things like these headlight clusters right here. Now, in there are big, bright halogen bulbs. They will give you excellent visibility. And I have to say, I love the shape of these headlights. I love the point down here. I love how they sweep around the vehicle and go up to that little point just at the top right there. If you come around the vehicle, check out the big steely wheels as we walk past. They are very tough and very durable, and that is kind of a watch phrase for this whole vehicle: tough and durable. And nowhere is that more obvious than on these wing mirrors right here. Tough and durable black plastic with indicators set into the side, and those can be adjusted by a little joystick because they're electrically adjustable. You can use that inside, and I'll show you that a little bit later. I mean, just taking the scale of this vehicle, this is a large van. It's a little bit shorter than you'd expect because it's an L3 H2 version, which means it's just under the highest version and just a little bit shorter than the longest version. And that's usually the kind of size that a tradesperson will go for, because it means a shorter vehicle means a higher payload. Anyway, we've talked about the outside, we've talked a little bit about the inside, so let's get in there right now and see what this new professional cabin is all about. Yeah, so first impressions. Tough and durable, as I said, on the outside. And I mean, you can see, just look around, there's a lot of very tough, very black plastic. And the fibres on the seat, well, yeah, this fabric is very tough and very durable as well. I quite like that there's some colour in here. There's a little bit of red and blue. That's quite nice to see, kind of breaks up the monotone interior. But of course, that's the whole point. It is tough and it is durable. So let's start at the steering wheel. It's tough and durable, black plastic with some controls that are quite basic on either side. You've got your phone controls on the right hand side, and you've got your volume controls and your voice controls as well on the left hand side. It's very tough, it's nice, it's very grippy. I don't think that's going to be slipping out of your hands if you try and take a very tight corner. Behind that, you've got some stalks, you've got your cruise control and your speed limiter down here, and your other stalks do everything you'd expect them to do on either side there. Through that steering wheel, you've got your dashboard, which is very clear and very basic, and you have a very nice big driver information display in the middle. It's a very simple orange text on black background, and it looks really nice. It's very clear. You can see everything that you'd usually expect to see on a DID right there. It's very, very good and very clear. There's a nice hood over the top of it here. That's very tough, and it kind of brings us along this great big dashboard to one of my favourite features of this series of vans, which is the clipboard that pops out the top there. Now, I think that's a great feature. If you've got some directions, or you've got a digital device or an iPad or something like that that you want to have running with some directions on it, you can just stick it in there. It's great. If you've got some order forms, just shove them in there. They won't be going anywhere. I like how it pops in and out and how it sits back down flush on top of the radio right there. Just below that, you'll notice a slot here for a CD. Okay, cool. So, you know, very 90s, very early noughties, very, very cool. It's very kitsch to have something like that in here. And on this display, which is very nice to see, this is actually a nice little TFT touchscreen, which you can access all sorts of stuff. Peugeot's system is quite basic, but it's very functional. It's got a load of features, all sorts of things, including your radio, your media, and your satellite navigation. You can hook a phone up by USB or Bluetooth, so that's great to see. And I have to say, the volume controls are very, very nice. I like how they don't just keep spinning forever. There's actually some definitive movement in that, which is very great. I'll just make sure that's muted so it doesn't interrupt me while I'm talking about what's in here. Just below, you've got your defrost button and you've got your climate controls. Now, I have to tell you that when I got into this vehicle for the first time and I had a little play around with these instruments down here, it was very tough to work out how to use them. But we cracked it. This little one up here is for fan speed, this one is for temperature, and it's pretty much the same over here. This one is the direction of airflow, and this one is how it's flowing, whether it's being circulated or it's just coming straight in. Below that, you've got your hazard light, which is a big flash of red, nice to see in a dark interior just like this. Next to that, you've got your lock button, and next to that, your demister. You've got some blank buttons up here, and you've got your ASR on and off button right there. Now, this gear stick is one of my favourites, very easy to use. I like that it's console mounted, there's no awkward knee fondling. Because there's a large van, you will fit two people in front here with you, absolutely fine. There's going to be no awkward knee fondling, which is great. Below that, you've got some of the best cup holders I've ever seen. These are really good. Now, this is something you only get at the professional trim level. It's called phone and drink storage. And obviously there we go, we've got a 1 litre bottle, fits in nice and solid down there, that's not going to go anywhere. And this is where you can stick your phone, or if you want to, you can stick your phone in this pocket right here. Let's have a look at some other storage. Now there's a cup holder over here. Now it would have been nice if the driver had had a cup holder as well, somewhere mounted up here, but this will have to do for the driver. So there's a little cup holder here, and there's a 12-volt socket here. And next to that, there seems to be an opening for another 12-volt socket that we just don't have. I'm going to make this gesture again. Over here, you've got some additional storage. Now, there's a flip top up here. In the Citroen Relay, it didn't come with air conditioning, but this one, because it has air conditioning as standard, means that this little compartment stays very cool. So stick your sandwich or your drink in there and it will stay very nice and cool while you're on the road. There's a nice little cubby here with a lip, which is nice. Some vehicles I've seen these days don't have this lip at the end, so you put something in the cubby, you take a tight corner, it just slides out the side, whereas this one, nothing's going to come out of there. And the same with these two little cubbies just down here. Something might fall out of that one, I think, but this one, I think you'll be able to put a book or something like that in there, and that's not going to go anywhere. Below that, you've got a very nice little glove box. There's not a whole lot of room in there, I've got to say. I'd expect to see something a little bit bigger in a vehicle of this size, but you'll be able to fit your manual, your locking wheel nuts, and your AdBlue filler in there, absolutely no problem. Now, there's one more thing I'd just like to show you, just under here, which is surprisingly tough to pull down. It's sort of a mobile office. You've got some cup holders up here, but you've also got a little clip for holding documents in place. Now, it's nice to see something solid being used as a clip. In some vehicles these days, you just get a kind of elastic bungee cord over the centre, which they tend to come out at the sides, whereas this, I think, is probably going to stay exactly where it is. I'll just put that back. Ugh. Surprisingly tough to get in there. There's also some coat hooks. You've got a coat hook back here and a coat hook back there. And I mean, that's it. This is a very tough, very durable and very practical interior. But I'll tell you where this vehicle really excels. It's in the back. So let's head out there and take a look at the cavernous back end of this vehicle. And you get into the back of this vehicle through these gigantic doors. Now, they are 1.8 metres high, and both of them open up to the standard 90 degrees, but just on the inside, they've got these nice little convenient buttons which allow you to open them up to a full 180 degrees, allowing you full access to that 1.6 metre wide aperture. Now, in the L3 H2 version, this vehicle's loading bay is nearly 4 metres long, and height-wise, just over 2 metres high. As you can see, I've got lots of clearance above my head. At its widest, the vehicle is 1.8 metres wide, and that slims to just about 1.4 metres between the arches. Take a note of the lovely ply lining and also the lashing points on the floor and the sides of the vehicles. If we track round to the side sliding door, you'll see that these doors are around 1.7 metres high and 1.5 metres wide, which means you'll be able to get pallets in from the side door and the back doors too. Makes it very functional, really sets it apart from its competition. And speaking of the competition, let's take a look at some of the other large vans available in the sector right now. First up, the Boxer platform shares with the Citroen Relay and Fiat Ducato, so expect some strong, if not very similar performance in terms of being huge, powerful vans that return excellent running costs. Next, it's the Nissan NV400, Renault Master and the Vauxhall Movano. Now this is another trio of platform sharing vans, which means shared engines, similar loading bays, etc. But they might just edge out the previous bunch with their better cabs. And how about the VW Crafter? Its payload isn't huge and neither is its fuel economy, but it's very user-friendly, which is why it gets rave reviews from anyone who gets in it, this guy included. The Ford Transit, now there's a new one on the way, but the current model is the best seller for a reason. It makes some minor compromises on payload for sure, but it's the benchmark and it's a bestseller for a reason. The Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, it's always sparring for the top spot with the Transit and is absolutely packed to the rafters with technology. Fleet operators love this tough van and you might too. So there we go, the competition snapping at the Boxer's heels do not seem to be intimidating it one bit, but who gives a fig about the competition? We've got a van and we've got my favourite bit of the review, the road test. Let's see how this bad boy handles the tarmac. Get in. Just like the Citroen Relay, the driving position is very nice, it's very high, and the massive great big windscreen gives you superb visibility out the front of the vehicle. I do like it a lot. I mean, to be fair, driving a large van is, well, great. I mean, I've already said that driving a big van makes me feel like a big man, and there's absolutely no difference. This shared platform is one of my favourites. Very tough, very high performing, very durable. It's also capable of carrying very impressive payloads, especially with vehicles that usually at the higher height would not necessarily be able to take as much weight. It's funny actually, it's only when this vehicle gets longer that you really have to make any compromise on payload. Whereas when you get a higher version of the vehicle, payload pretty much stays the same. And there's a significant amount of power available from this engine. Now this is a 2.2 litre Euro 6.2 temp diesel engine, which returns excellent running costs. There's a lot of power, there's a lot of torque. The gear stick allows you access to this brilliant 6-speed gearbox, which is mated to the engine, and it just makes a very nice drive. I mean, you need a lot of power when you're hefting 1,500 kilograms, and when you're towing braked, another 2,500 kilograms. Now, you typically find vans like the Peugeot Boxer, the Citroen Relay, and the Fiat Ducato in fleets. And why? Well, because they make very cheap to run, very durable fleet vehicles. Imagine it, you've got multiple people jumping in and out of vans every single day. You've got guys sharing the same places. You've got all sorts of people jumping in at any given moment. So you need something that's tough, is hard wearing, that can stand all the feet jumping in and out. And you look around and this whole cabin is kind of geared for that sort of life cycle. It's got very tough rubber matting on the floor to handle the boots. It's got a very tough, very hard to scratch black plastic all over the interior to avoid being scuffed, to avoid being scratched. It's also got a very tough and hard-wearing engine, and that's so it can just cover miles, it can adapt to different driving styles. You might have someone who's a bit heavy on the clutch, you might have someone who's a bit heavy on the accelerator. That's what these vehicles are meant to do. So if you're an independent tradesperson and you're thinking about getting a large van, something like this that is tried and tested, tough, built to outlast multiple drivers and multiple driving styles, that's what this is made for. It's made to last forever. But if you ask me, I don't think it's time for the PSA Group to start getting together on a new large van platform. I mean, they have to let the successful small and medium van platforms that they've developed actually bed in with the public and take a bit of time. There are vehicles like the Vauxhall Movano that just, I think it has its crowd already, and I think Vauxhall are kind of waiting to see what the landscape looks like before they really invest in that particular area. It's just my opinion. Quite funny, there's a Citroen Relay just driven past us there with its very familiar looking front grille, almost exactly the same as the front of this vehicle. But as I say, getting the PSA Group together on a new large van platform, I don't know whether it's time really. Let the Berlingos, the Dispatches, the Vivaros, the Combos, the experts and the partners bed in. Let them bed in first, and then let's tackle the large van. Because right now, this platform is pretty damn good. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be my summation of this, that we don't need a new large van platform yet, because this one is still tough as boots. So let's do comparisons. Let's draw some obvious conclusions. Let's put it up against the Ford Transit. Okay, the Ford Transit is big, powerful, really good engine. The EcoBlue 2-litre diesel that Ford put in all their commercial vehicles is a really good engine, returns very good running costs. But this 2.2-litre engine that's in this vehicle is also capable of returning very similar miles per gallon and very good running costs as well. So that's what you're going to be comparing them on. They're all kind of much of a muchness. You have to start looking a bit more granular. Let's go for cabins. Ford Transit has probably got a better cabin, but this one is tougher and more durable. And at the professional trim level, you've got cup holders. Usually I'd say go for the Transit if you want the cup holders. You won't be disappointed. But actually go for the professional trim level, and you're not going to miss them at all. So what about its brethren? Well, the Fiat Ducato and the Citroen Relay, it's much of a muchness really. At the lower trim levels, you're just going to get a very basic cabin, but you're going to get a nice big glove box in the middle. That's about it. The higher trim levels are probably going to be similar to this one, with that kind of cup and phone storage thing that I showed you earlier on. And then let's think about the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. Well, potentially the Sprinter, it's got a class-leading height in the back, but actually it's the front end, the luxurious seats, all that tech in the front. It definitely edges out the Peugeot Boxer. And then I guess the final one to have a think about is the VW Crafter. Now, user friendliness is absolutely at its peak in the Crafter. It's a fantastic machine, but its engines and payloads, not necessarily my favourite, and to be fair, users often complain that the payload is just a little bit smaller than they think it's going to be, which is a bit of a shame, because the VW Crafter is a really good package. There is a little bit of wobble, but it's nothing you're not really going to expect in a van of this size. We've got quite a tight corner coming up, so let's drop it down a couple of gears. We've got enough power to get around so we can stay in control. This is quite steep. There is a little, there's a little hairy moment where it just felt like the vehicle was just tipping just that little bit too much. Did you see a look of genuine fear on my face there? But that was an exceptionally tight corner. You don't often get corners that tight, because I've been taking this round roundabouts and round standard 90-degree corners. I mean, that one was practically bent back in on itself. And I've been experiencing no real issues whatsoever. The only thing that I'm very conscious of, and thank you very much to Peugeot for lending us this vehicle, is that just every now and then I do get a little clonk from a tree branch just on the top of this vehicle. But that's what's going to happen. If you're going to drive a vehicle like this, you are going to be taking some foliage with you. See, and that was a different kettle of fish. That was a tight corner, but that was going downhill. So the momentum and gravity were working in the right way, not like that straight flat one where I honestly thought the vehicle was going to go over. Whew! That would be a tricky one. That would be a tricky one to explain to Peugeot. And while the interior may look a little bit bland, the seats themselves are very comfortable. Just like in the Citroen Relay, they're very comfy. They feel like they're hugging my bum quite nicely, and I've got a nice little armrest here, but it's quite hard on the top. I mean, there is a sort of a spongier layer up here, but it does feel kind of like hard plastic. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. It's nice to have an armrest, and as you can see, it's a very relaxing vehicle to drive. The chase car in front of me is leading me on what I feel like is a bit of a spaghetti, but in that time up to now, we've gone through a town centre, we've gone through country roads, we've gone through some A roads and B roads, and we're just about to hit a dual carriageway, which will mean that we can open up the engine and see what this 2.2 litre is capable of. Now, this slip road is very, very short, which means we're going to have to get speed up very, very fast, which is very hard in a vehicle of this size because you have to slow it down a bit to take those big corners. Here we go, and we're onto a nice clear dual carriageway, which is the perfect place. We put those windows up. I don't need to be able to breathe when I'm showing you just how fast this vehicle can go. and it handles the motorway very nicely. There's quite a lot of cabin noise, in fact probably more than I would remember from the Citroen Relay, but it's not too loud. I'm having to raise my voice just a little bit, but that was my fault because I left the windows open. Plus, if you wanted to, you could just turn the stereo on and turn the music up. That would hide any road noise. All good things must come to an end though, and that is very much the case with this drive. Just quickly get that window up. And one of the great things about a van this size, because it's so long, is when it has reverse sensors. Now, it doesn't have a reversing camera at the professional level, but the wing mirrors are so big. Wing mirrors or door mirrors are so big that you can absolutely see where you're going. There's a nice siren goes off while you're doing it, and the sensors tell you when you are, here we go, there we go, done and dusted. Brilliant. So, how do we finish this one? Well, anyone who watched my review of the Citroen Relay, this is probably going to come as absolutely no surprise. It's very tough, it's very durable, it returns great running costs thanks to that excellent engine beneath the bonnet. And I guess that's the point, is that the PSA Group at some point is going to come together and create a new large van platform. But until they do, this one is pretty damn good. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notified when we post more content just like this.